The story of David is one of courage, faith, and a journey from shepherd to king, shaped by God's favor and enduring challenges. It begins in the hills of Bethlehem, where young David tended his father's sheep. David was the youngest son of Jesse, and though he wasn't the tallest or the strongest, he had a heart devoted to God. He spent his days playing his harp, singing psalms, and protecting his flock from wild animals, even fighting off lions and bears with nothing but his staff and slingshot. Shaped by God's favor and enduring challenges. It begins in the hills of Bethlehem, where young David tended his father's sheep. David was the youngest son of Jesse, and though he wasn't the tallest or the strongest, he had a heart devoted to God. He spent his days playing his harp, singing psalms, and protecting his flock from wild animals, even fighting off lions and bears with nothing but his staff and slingshot. One day, the prophet Samuel, following God's command, visited Bethlehem in search of Israel's next king. God had rejected Saul, the current king, for disobedience, and instructed Samuel to anoint one of Jesse's sons. One by one, Jesse presented his sons, but God told Samuel, "Do not look at his appearance or at his physical stature, because I have refused him." Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. Finally, after passing over each of David's older brothers, Samuel asked if there was yet another son. Reluctantly, Jesse mentioned David, still out in the fields. When David was brought before Samuel, God spoke, saying, "This is the one." Samuel anointed David with oil, marking him as the future king of Israel. From that day, the Spirit of the Lord came upon David with power. Soon after, David's path to greatness began to unfold in a most unexpected way. Israel was at war with the Philistines, and their armies faced off across a valley. For 40 days, a giant warrior named Goliath, a towering man over 9 feet tall and armed with massive weapons, stepped forward each day, challenging the Israelites to send a champion to fight him. Goliath's taunts struck fear into the hearts of Israel's soldiers, including King Saul himself. None dared face the giant, for a defeat meant slavery for the entire nation. One day, David's father sent him to the battle lines to bring food to his brothers. When David arrived, he heard Goliath's challenge and saw the fear in the soldier's eyes. Indignant, he asked, "Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God?" His brothers scolded him, thinking he was being arrogant, but David was undeterred. Word of his boldness spread, and soon David was brought before King Saul. Saul tried to dissuade him, but David insisted, "Your servant has killed both the lion and the bear. This uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them. The Lord, who delivered me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear, will deliver me from the hand of this Philistine." Seeing David's faith, Saul finally agreed and offered his own armor. But the armor was too heavy and cumbersome, so David took it off. Instead, he took his staff, chose 5 smooth stones from a brook, and approached Goliath with his slingshot in hand. When Goliath saw the young shepherd boy, he sneered, saying, "Am I a dog, that you come to me with sticks?" But David replied, "You come to me with sword, spear, and javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hand, and all the earth will know that there is a God in Israel." With that, David ran toward Goliath, placing a stone in his sling and hurling it with all his might. The stone struck Goliath square in the forehead, sinking deep, and the giant crashed to the ground. With a single blow, David had defeated the Philistine champion. He ran to Goliath's body, drew the giant's own sword, and cut off his head. The Philistine army, seeing their hero slain, fled in terror, and Israel won a great victory. David's fame spread throughout Israel. Saul brought him into his court, and David became a beloved hero, known not only for his bravery, but also for his skill with the harp and his heartfelt psalms. However, as David's popularity grew, Saul became consumed with jealousy. He saw in David a threat to his throne, and soon Saul's admiration turned to hatred. Saul tried to kill David on multiple occasions, even throwing a spear at him during a fit of rage. David had to flee for his life, living as a fugitive in the wilderness with a loyal band of followers. During his years in hiding, David had several opportunities to kill Saul, but refused, saying, "I will not lay my hand on the Lord's anointed."